Normal spiders. Spiders are air-breathing arthropods that have 8 limbs, chelicerae with fangs, generally able to inject venom, and spinnerets that extrude silk. They are the largest order of arachnids and rank 7th in total species diversity among all organisms. As of November 2023, 51,673 spider species and 136 families have been recorded by taxonomists. Tarantulas. Tarantulas comprise a group of large and often hairy spiders of the family Theraphossidae. As of December 2023, 1,100 species have been identified, with 166 genera. Clock spider. The clock spider is in reference to an urban legend that circulated around the internet. Supposedly, a man found a huge huntsman spider in their relative's house under a rather large wall clock. The spider seemed to be as large or larger than the clock, with its hairy legs peeking out from under. Thus, the spider got its infamous nickname, Clock Spider. The person ended up photographing the spider, as shown, and posted these photographs onto the internet. Chafee spider. The chafee spider, also known as the Buena Vista giant spider, is an alleged type of arachnid that was reported to have existed in the late 19th and early 20th century in Chaffee County, Colorado. A short distance out of Buena Vista is a cave swarming with spiders of immense size, some of them having legs 4 inches in length and bodies as large as a canary bird. The cave was discovered in 1868 and was often visited by pioneers on their way to California. According to local accounts, these spiders were helpful as pest control and produced fine silk that could be used as a thread substitute. The spiders were also said to have pliable skin that did not require tanning, making them suitable for use in leather products. They were far superior to cats in exterminating rats and mice, since they followed their prey into the holes in the walls and ceilings. They could even form personal attachments like a pet, as attested by the Buena Vista woman whose spider guarded the foot of her bed, acting as a sentinel. The first proper report about the chafee spider was published in an issue of the Family Herald of London in 1887, and a copy of this report was later provided to the Salida Mail in 1911. The report describes the chafee spider as a pleasant, distinct type of arachnid that inhabited a cave near Buena Vista and had a large population that was known to buzz loudly due to the web weaving process. In 1871, a group of researchers allegedly tested the webbing and found it to be fine silk. In the 1830s, a prospector ventured into the spider's cave and was buried in a rock slide. His web-suffocated corpse was apparently visible to cave explorers for many years, being in a tight spot beyond retrievability. Afterwards, the spiders pushed back into the surrounding mountains. Eventually, human encroachment and farming seemed to have diminished the spider's territory and possibly led to their extinction, as folklore surrounding them faded into obscurity in the 20th century. However, it is possible that the chafee spider is a joke, as the 1911 article in the Salida Mail suggests that the story was creating, quote-unquote, quite a deal of amusement among the local people. However, as of 1887, the eldest locals are said to have solemnly vouched for the existence of these creatures. Italy tomb spider. The Italy tomb spider was a supposed creature that roamed the old ruins and tombs of Italy in 1896. An article in the newspaper titled the San Francisco Call in their 80th volume mentions this beast. The following is said article. The people of Italy believe in the existence of a wonderful creature which, for the want of a better name, is called the tomb spider. The entomologists know nothing of this queer beast, and declare that it only exists in the fancy of the superstitious persons, and those whose curiosity or business makes it necessary for them to explore old ruins, tombs, catacombs, etc. According to the accounts, the tomb spider is of a pure white color, has wings of those like a bat, a dozen horrid crooked legs, and a body 3 or 4 times the size of the largest tropical American tarantula. The accounts of this arachnid in his out-of-the-way places of abode are by no means common, and on that account the information concerning him, which we will be able to give the curious, is very meager. Any Italian will tell you that such a creature exists, however, and that he's occasionally met with in old mines and caverns, as well as in tombs and subterranean rooms. The London Saturday Review has an article from a correspondent who was present when some Roman workmen unearthed the church of the 5th century. He says, "We were standing by one of the heavy pillars that originally supported the roof when something flashed down from the pitchy darkness overhead and paused full in the candlelight beside us, at about a level with our eyes. It was distinctly as visible as the thing could be at a distance of 3 feet, and appeared to be an insect about half the size of a man's fist. It was white as wax, and with its many long legs, it gathered in a bunch as it crouched on the stone. Our guide had seen, or at least heard of this uncanny insect as an ill omen before, but was by no means reconciled to its presence, as his actions proved. He glanced around uncomfortably for a moment and then moved away, we following. It really seems a bit queer, but it is said that the strongest of nerves give away in the presence of this insect of such ghostly demeanor. Even today, this uncanny apparition is said to be an unclassified monster, an eternal mystery. When the grave spider is encountered by those opening tombs, it is thought to be a sign of death to one of the workmen or some member of his family. Giant Spider in Chicago. This is in reference to a Reddit thread where a Redditor said the following. My friend was telling me back in 2009, around the north side of Chicago, he was walking home from school with his little sister. Out of nowhere, a big black spider came running out of the alleyway and seemed to be dragging a rat. He described the spider as being all black and was about the size of a beagle dog. He said each leg had to have been 2 to 3 feet long. The replies were less than helpful but pretty funny. One reply said that since the cryptid lives in Chicago, it had to be gang affiliated. Then the original poster responded with, "Spider probably got checked and shot to death sooner or later." I can't with Reddit, man. Up Island Spider. The Up Island spiders, also known as the hearse horse spiders, were a large wolf spider species that inhabits a small area on the northern part of Islesboro, Maine. They are described as dark brown spiders with red eyes, and can grow up to 8 inches in size with their legs spread apart. The spider is known to grow large enough to make audible footsteps in a quiet room, and carry its young on its back, like other wolf spiders, but it does not construct webs or nets. The spider's population is believed to be centered around a local church, leading to speculation that the spiders may have arrived on the island in a coffin. While there have been some sightings of smaller spiders down island, the larger up island spiders are more commonly seen in the northern part of Islesboro. Buena Vista Giant Spider. I'm not sure as to why the Chafee spider is being listed again under a different name here, so we'll skip it. Giant Spider in Europa. Giant Spider in Europa is in reference to this video here that talks about a few supposed giant spider sightings in history. The main 2 incidents he mentions were talking about an excerpt from the story Dracula and a sighting in Paris. The Dracula story will be talked about later in the video, but the Paris spider incident is the next entry. Singing Spider of Paris. The singing spiders of Paris were giant arachnids believed to have caused mysterious disappearances around a tomb in Paris. They were said to draw out their prey with a siren song. The creature was first described in the Ann Arbor Argus on September 14, 1894. During late March, men and women have been disappearing in the tomb of Issoire without any trace of them ever being discovered. One night, a policeman heard a strange musical song from a hole at the base of a huge rock, dubbed the Giant's Cave, due to the legend that a giant had been buried there long ago. The policeman observed a young man approaching the hole, seemingly hypnotized by the unearthly strains issuing forth from their hidden subterranean source. He raced into the hole at full speed, and the policeman chased after him, firing his revolver to alert his colleagues for help. By the time backup arrived, the strange music had ceased, and the sounds of a violent struggle had replaced it. The young man was in the grip of a monstrous spider, covered with wart-like protuberances, and bristling with coarse, brownish hair. The thing had 8 legs, terminated by formidable claws, that were buried in the body of the unfortunate victim. The policemen found their colleague lying unconscious but unharmed, and carried the 2 men and the carcass back out through the hole into the Parisian street where the surreal incident had begun. Giant Lunar Spider. A TikToker by the name of Chasing the Milk posted a clip of him while he was live streaming. He and his viewers were looking for a supposed giant spider on the moon. As he was looking, you can see a black mass that looks similar to a spider's shape. The TikTok went pretty viral. As the time of writing this, it's almost sitting at 128,000 likes. Here's the video in question. Humanoid Spider. Humanoid Spider is in reference to another Reddit thread talking of a mysterious sighting that happened to the original poster. The post goes as follows. A giant humanoid spider ripped clothing from my wardrobe in the night when I was a child, and my brother was a witness. We don't really talk about it, but I think about it like every day now. I forgot about it for years somehow. Has anyone seen anything like this? Please speak out. I'm in Australia. The poster attached to this photo as a reference to what they had seen. Giant spider in Antarctica. Giant spider in Antarctica is in reference to this picture posted on 4chan. The image on a 4chan Antarctica thread depicts a giant spider-looking creature in Antarctica, and the original poster, son of Antonon, shares his father's experience with the strange things observed there. His father discovered that prehistoric 5-legged spider-like cryptids were frozen in the ice and became hostile when they reanimated them. Some of the creatures were growing as large as several story-tall buildings. His dad was about to be discharged when a man broke into his room and threw a leg of one of the creatures on his chest. The man was named Jones, and he and a team of 11 men went to a research outpost southeast of McMurdo, where they found pure carnage and no scientist left alive. They cleared the rooms to look for survivors and found a massive underground lab with a cage containing a massive strider and another one busted open. 2 of the smaller creatures were eating children, suggesting something more sinister was happening. The remaining team exterminated any remaining creatures, but also discovered several underground bullet train tunnels with signs directing them to major cities around the world, like New York City and Melbourne. Son of Antonon later got a hold of his dad's Apple computer from the 90s, which may or may not have had some files on it to prove his experiences. However, the hard drive conveniently no longer worked, leaving the question of whether these strider creatures were even real, or if this whole story was faked. Son of Antonon was never heard from again. Giant spider in Rio Negro. According to this video posted by Coffee and Mysteries, a diver supposedly saw a gigantic underwater spider. The poster shares a legend from the Negro River about divers who have seen strange and bizarre creatures underwater. The oldest urban legends mention that professional divers ventured into the Amazon rivers to find artifacts or historical objects for archaeological studies. One of these divers supposedly found a shipwrecked ship in the deepest part of the river, where he would claim to have seen a gigantic spider living inside. The terrified diver left and returned to his city, swearing to never enter the waters again. Other variants of this legend claim that the diver had seen a gigantic town instead, but overall it just seems to be a folktale. Giant spider drinks lamp oil. Giant spider drinking lamp oil is in reference to Bram Stoker's Dracula, published in 1897. The scene in question is from this excerpt of a giant spider hiding in a cathedral. The sexton of the Church of St. Eustace at Paris, amazed to find frequently a particular lamp extinct early, and yet the oil consumed only, sat up several nights to perceive the cause. At length, he detected that a giant spider of surprising size came down the cord to drink the oil. A still more extraordinary instance of the same kind occurred during the year 1751 in the Cathedral of Milan. A vast spider was observed there, which fed on the oil of the lamps. M. Moreland, of the Academy of Sciences, has described the spider and furnished a drawing of it. It weighed 4 pounds and was sent to the Emperor of Austria, and is now in the Imperial Museum at Vienna. Russia giant spider. The Russia giant spider is in reference to a few old YouTube videos posted of a giant spider seen in Russia. The following is that video. Obviously, if you haven't noticed already, it's fake. It's still a cool video to watch, and I love how far effects and editing has come. Giant spider gets killed in Spain, probably. Giant spider killed in Spain is referencing this podcast on Spotify, called The Paranormal Potluck. On the 11th episode, one of them mentions how they got a caller to the show, talking about a spider encounter their grandfather had. The caller told the podcast how his grandfather had ran over a dog-sized spider with his car. They were going down this back road and the thing crossed over the dirt road, and they ran right over it. The caller proceeds to explain that these have been seen all over, and even newspaper publications have announced that they found dead ones. In their own words, they described the creatures as a granite color, but with black legs. Vietnam War giant spiders. This is in reference to a Reddit thread, where the original poster asks, "Is there any evidence that soldiers encountered giant spiders in the Vietnam War, or in any other war?" Most of the replies were just Redditors telling their own stories, or arguing with each other, as Redditors do. But one notable reply stood out. "I suggest you get in touch with Dr. Carl Schuker. He is currently conducting research into this topic." Now, I didn't know who this Dr. Schuker fellow was, originally, but I came to realize he's very important to the specific topic, as he'll soon return with a bigger role in the iceberg later. Giant. This spider monster story is from the Seneca people. The Giant is indestructible, keeping the heart buried under its lodge, much like the giants of later fairy tales, whose hearts are hidden in a separate location. The mythical story of the Giant is that of the hero Orthigwenda, who encountered the monster. In a struggle with the creature, the hero ripped a branch from a nearby tree and threw it at the monster in an attempt to kill it. He missed the Giant, but the branch went into the earth and pierced the Giant heart that killed it instantly. Giant Spider in Louisiana. Giant Spider in Louisiana is in reference to this blog posted by the aforementioned Dr. Kyle Schuker. The document describes a series of alleged encounters with giant spiders in Louisiana, as reported by an anonymous U.S. soldier, referred to as Sergeant S. In 2005, Sergeant S. and another soldier encountered a large, hairy, spider-like creature with multiple eyes and long, thin legs up to 5 feet in length, while on a training exercise at Fort Polk. The creature reacted aggressively, causing the soldiers to open fire with blank rounds. A few days after the 2005 incident, soldiers and Sergeant S. heard something walking across the tin roof of their sleeping quarters late at night. It sounded like slow, heavy raindrops for a minute, even though there was no rain, and then stopped abruptly. Another night, a soldier claimed to woke up to see what he thought was an old bearded man with huge black goggles lying prone on the ground at the doorstep, staring at them through the open tent door. The man quickly crawled back over a 10-foot fence and disappeared into the woods. There was a rumor circulating from local soldiers that a wildlife management ranger and a tree-mounted deer blind had observed 8 of the creatures gathered in a remote clearing, facing each other in a circle and taking turns placing sticks into a pile. Sergeant S. finds this highly dubious and is likely a fable to scare visitors, but it shows the locals are already aware of these creatures. In 2007, Sergeant S. had 2 more encounters with similar creatures, one at night and one during the day. The document also mentions additional details, such as strange sounds and sightings reported by other soldiers, as well as the local folklore about large insects and missing persons in the area. Sergeant S. called out to the author, Dr. Carl Schuker, in 2019 to share his experiences, as he has been troubled by the encounters for over a decade. Schuker documented the soldiers' accounts in a 2-part blog article, though he noted he has no independent corroboration of the events. Giant Spider in Peru. The giant spider in Peru is in reference to this YouTube video posted by Kentucky Cave Creeper, who hands the camera off to a nameless man he met with a story to tell. The news speaker describes a story about a giant spider that lived near Costco in Peru. He met with his father, Larry, who was in charge of a project to build a train station. For context, this story is from the father's perspective. The story begins with Larry, the dad, telling the story of a Volkswagen Beetle-sized spider that appeared while they were clearing land. The dad describes the spider's legs and hair moving slowly towards the other end of the road. He was surprised and scared by the spider's disappearance, but he hopes that the story will help others who have experienced similar experiences. Guyana's man-eating spider. The man-eating spider was the name for a news article published by the World News in 1928. The article describes a terrifying encounter with the spider monster, or Mygale avicularia, a giant spider-like creature that inhabits the forests and caves of Guyana in South America. The creature is described as gigantic, dark green or black in color, covered in short hairs and bristles, and capable of climbing vertical surfaces due to the adhesive pads on its feet. The creature is described as a loathsome spider beast that is hideous and can cause a tremor of abhorrence, even those accustomed to nature's deformities. A young man named T was attacked and killed by the spider monster, who then dragged his body back into the cave, using a thread attached to its body. The article also mentions other mysterious disappearances in the region attributed to these monster spiders, dwelling in uncharted forests. Giant Spider in the Sewer of Tokyo. Giant Spider in the Sewer of Tokyo is in reference to this video, and after translating, this is the summary of that video. Tokyo, a city known for its suburban environment, has also been associated with unusual giant rats in its sewers. However, these giant rats aren't the problem. In the 1970s, Tokyo public service workers encountered a strange spider web in the sewer tunnel filled with numerous animal corpses. Further investigation revealed giant spider webs throughout the tunnels. Some believe Tokyo's sewers are filled with spiders of a size they've never seen before, suggesting that a fauna coexists with an unusual adaptation for humans. The mysterious nature of these giant spider webs raises questions about their meaning, whether they are vestiges of a giant arachnid or a false urban legend of a cryptid to keep people away from the tunnels. The unknown and unexplored nature of these spider webs raises questions about the origins of these strange creatures and the potential dangers they pose to human life. Old spider legs. Old spider legs is a fearsome critter sighted in America during the 19th century by a lumberjack. According to the witness's report, as he was traveling through the forest, he heard a quick and numerous galloping noise. It was then that he got a clear sight of a horse that had 8 legs, positioned like a spider's legs. He got on his horse and chased after the beast, but he could not keep up and soon lost sight of it. Many have supposedly heard it since, but none have fully seen it again. It might have possibly been a wild horse that had a twin that did not fully develop. Like the instance of a conjoined twin's body parts growing on the surviving twin's body, the animal must have received its extra appendages, which, in this case, were positioned like a spider's. It can also simply be a made-up lumberjack tale. Asivalut. The Asivalut is an obscure creature in Inuit mythology. It's described as a very large spider-like creature that allegedly inhabits shallow bays in the Arctic of Canada and the west coast of Greenland. Akin to huntsmen or water spiders in appearance, the Asivalut is an ambush predator that waits at the bottom of shallow shoals and inlets for an animal, usually seals, to swim above it, which it then violently drags under and eats it. Although aquatic spiders do exist and even behave the same way the Asivalut does, none inhabit the ocean and obviously don't reach the proportions to be able to consume an entire seal. Due to spiders having book lungs, which wouldn't properly function if the animal was too large, the Asivalut is probably not a spider, and perhaps a crab, sea spider, or other spider-like arthropod that could, hypothetically, evolve to such sizes. One of the few recorded sightings of an Asivalut outside of folklore and mythology was, according to an elder, in the early 20th century by a kayaker on an unnamed island west of Baffin Island. The kayaker was crossing a small gap and noticed how shallow the water was. He then remembered hearing about the legend of the Asivalut by his elders, so he became weary. As he was looking for an Asivalut, he noticed a large eye, and about a meter to the left, another. He quickly paddled away, and luckily the Asivalut did not attack him. Giant spider in Chernobyl. The Chernobyl disaster, considered the worst nuclear accident in history, caused significant damage to the environment and human life. After the explosion, most plant and animal life in the vicinity was destroyed. The full effects of this unprecedented level of radiation may never be known, leading some to wonder if the radiation mutated native insects and animals, such as the aforementioned Chernobyl mutant spider. In February 2022, Russian forces took control of the Chernobyl facilities, and the plant was temporarily disconnected from the power grid. The International Atomic Energy Agency determined it was not an imminent safety concern, but there are concerns about the state of the concrete structure that was put in place to contain the radiation from Unit 4. Despite radiation reductions over time, Chernobyl is still highly radioactive and will continue to be for thousands of years. Estimates on when Chernobyl will truly be safe vary widely, with estimates ranging from 3,000 to 20,000 years. Although living in the exclusion zone is illegal, many have returned to their homes and more than 1,000 people live in Pripyat. The myth of the mutant spider gained traction in the 1990s, when 2 pale bodies were found in elevators in an apartment building in Ukraine. Allegedly, both bodies suffered tremendous blood loss and had bruised puncture wounds, which sparked rumors of vampires and residents refusing to use elevators. Scientists are studying how insects were impacted by radioactive exposure, finding interesting results. Firebugs, which normally have distinct symmetrical red and black patterns, were found in areas of higher radiation with uneven, mismatched designs on their thorax. Spider webs discovered in Chernobyl had unusual, messy, and chaotic designs that researchers believe may be a direct result of a mutation within the spiders. Further studies will need to be conducted to understand how radiation has affected genetic mutations on the spiders and other creatures of Chernobyl. Giant spider in Ukraine. A story circulated around the internet about a giant spider in Ukraine who managed to fend off police. In 1990, 2 people in Ukraine died in a very similar manner, with their bodies found in an elevator, with puncture marks on their necks. The victims were missing large amounts of blood, but no blood was found at the crime scene. A detective investigating the case claimed he saw his partner killed by a giant spider in the elevator. A man's body was found slumped against the wall of an elevator in a tower block in Ukraine, with pale skin and 2 puncture marks on his neck. A post-mortem determined that he had died from severe blood loss, with over 1.5 liters of blood missing from him. Other tenants of the apartment block believed there was a vampire on the loose, leading many to be afraid to use the elevator. Just over a month after the first victim's death, another body was discovered in the elevator, stuck between the 4th and 5th floors. Witnesses heard a girl's scream of terror coming from the broken-down elevator. The KGB propaganda minister, Leonid Kirnev, claimed that the girl had died of a fatal heroin overdose. Her parents denied this and threatened Kirnev with legal action. The police set a trap in the elevator for 3 days, waiting for the creature to emerge. When the elevator stopped and the lights went out, the officers heard a strange clicking sound and saw a dark shape moving towards them. A giant spider emerged from the hole in the roof and attacked the sergeant. The detective shot the spider, tearing off 3 of its legs and the side of its body. Flamethrowers were used to clear out the elevator shaft, and it is claimed that the spider's nest filled with eggs was found at the top of the shaft. The Turkish newspaper that broke the story claims that news of the attacks was suppressed by the government at the time. Most reports online claim this is a true story, though there doesn't seem to be a lot of evidence to back it up. Google Earth Giant Spider. YouTube channel Mexico Geek posted a video entitled Giant Insect on Google Earth, which speculated it may show a monster spider or crab. But just to clarify, neither, of course, are insects, as a spider is an arachnid, and a crab a crustacean. But this is the image the channel claimed to have found. While researching, I also found this cool looking one that was found on Google Earth as well, but it of course was a camera issue. Sabinch Tomatovic tape. This one is quite possibly the most depraved entry on here, and I almost regret starting this iceberg in the first place, but it's too late now. An Australian-Serbian adult film actress reported to her close friends and relatives being sexually assaulted by a giant spider measuring 4 feet in size. She wasn't alone, however, as someone was there with her supposedly filming the incident. This eyebrow-raising video, known as the Sabinch Tomatovic tape, has become a long-standing part of internet legend. While many have claimed to have seen it, no one has produced a copy. Let's hope it stays that way. Spider Grandmother. Spider Grandmother is an important figure in the mythology and folklore of many Native American cultures, such as the Hopi and the Cherokee. The spider is believed to be gigantic. According to the Cherokee, it can spin a web around the entire sun. The early mound builder civilization appears to be one of the earliest cultures to worship this spider. Jabaphofi. The Jabaphofi, also known as Congolese giant spiders, are a large arachnid cryptid that inhabits the forests of the Congo, possibly representing a new species of arachnids. They dig a shallow tunnel under tree roots and camouflage it with a large screen of leaves, creating an almost invisible web between their burrow and a nearby tree, stringing the whole area with a network of trip lines. Some oblivious animal, likely soon to end up on the creature's menu, will trip the line, alerting the spider, and the victim will be chased into the web. This predatory behavior is similar to that of several species of trapdoor spider. Natives claim the Jabaphofi eggs are pale yellow-white and shaped like peanuts, and their hatchlings are a bright yellow with a purple abdomen. Their coloration becomes darker and browner as they mature. The best account by Westerners appears in a cryptozoology book by George Eberhardt, which relates the terrifying experience of an English couple traveling through a region of jungle in the Congo. Cryptozoologist William J. Gibbons has hunted for what some may think be a living Congolese dinosaur called Makala Mbembe. We'll cover that cryptid on this channel eventually. He shared his experience with readers upon his return to Canada, stating that the giant ground-dwelling spiders prey on the forest antelope, birds, and other small game, and are said to be extremely dangerous and highly venomous. In March 2013, a video surfaced on YouTube of an alleged Jabaphofi caught on a night vision camera near a waterhole next to a tree in Mozambique. Many of the natives describe the spiders as once being numerous, but now a vanishing species. Encroachment by civilization in the form of rainforest being converted to farming land may have driven the spiders from their natural habitats. Shibijan Paul Roy, a cryptozoologist from Racecourse Para, published a research paper about the Jabaphofi in the International Journal of Enhanced Research in Science, Technology, and Engineering, breaking the world record for the first scientist to evaluate and identify the spider.